Welcome back to ExPhi. Today we're going to be looking at the third video in our series talking about the results of our nationally representative survey of Americans on their views on philosophy. In this video we're going to look at the question, do Americans believe the author is dead? Now, we just completed a survey of 1,000 randomly selected Americans on their views of a range of topics in philosophy. This video is the second video in the series analyzing these data about what everyday Americans believe about philosophy. For more on the survey methodology, visit carneades.org and check out our blog. So, one of the topics that we looked into in our survey was aesthetics. Specifically, we raised two questions. Who gets to decide what a piece of art means, and what should the purpose of art be? The first of these questions is often spoken of as the death of the author. It is the viewpoint often associated with postmodernism, which claimed that the author of a work does not have authority over the meaning of a piece of work. Some argue that the meaning is determined by the audience's experience of the work. Others argue that there are objective facts about the work that give it meaning. Postmodern philosophers go on to expound on the potential impacts of the death of the author on nonfiction texts as well, but our survey was solely focused on art, so the death of the author with respect to art. Another question on aesthetics that we included in the survey was what the purpose of art should be. This is a key debate within the philosophy of art. Some, like Oscar Wilde, support the position of aestheticism, which claims that art should be made just for art's sake, not for some purpose, not to represent the world, but art for art's sake. Others, called aesthetic realists, claim that art should be imitative, a mirror to society. Still others, aesthetic functionalists, argue that art should serve some purpose, whether to elicit an emotion, provide moral education, or something else. Finally, aesthetic pluralists claim that different pieces of art can have different purposes, and there's no one purpose that art should all have. Our survey asked participants which statement best corresponded with their views on both the meaning of art, the author's intent, audience's reception, or objective facts, and the purpose of art, aestheticism, realism, functionalism, or pluralism. We gave statements that corresponded with each of those positions. If you want to look at the exact statements in the exact language we used, check out the blog. We suspected that most people would give the author the credit for the meaning of the piece, but we were wrong. The rest of the video is going to give you some top-line results, but you can check out the blog for all of the nitty-gritty details. So, first off, Americans' views on what gives art meaning. As you can see from the graph above, most Americans think the author is dead. Nearly half think that the audience's reception of a piece of art is what gives it meaning, while around a quarter think that there are objective facts about the art which give it meaning. Less than a third think that the meaning is up to the author. Americans' views are even clearer on what the goal of art should be, with almost two-thirds supporting a pluralist view that there doesn't need to be one single goal of art, that different pieces of art can have different goals. Some art can be just for art's sake, other art can serve a function, some art can imitate the world. Functionalism comes a distant second, with around a fifth of Americans thinking art should have some purpose. Comparing these two questions, we can see how these different views on art relate to each other. More aestheticists thought that the author's intent should govern the meaning of art, as opposed to the audience's reception or objective facts. So if you think we should do art for art's sake, you think that you're more likely to think that the author's intent should override the audience's reception or objective facts. Income also plays an interesting, though perhaps predictable, role when looking at the purpose of art. Upper-income individuals were more likely to prefer art for art's sake than art that serves a purpose. So we're more likely to be aestheticists than aesthetic functionalists. While low-income individuals were much more likely to be aesthetic functionalists than prefer art for art's sake, to the degree that they almost had aesthetic functionalism over aesthetic pluralism. This might be predictable, and it's important to note that for all income groups, aesthetic pluralism is still the most likely response. Views on ethics have an interesting relationship with the meaning of art. Divine command theorists think objective facts are more determinative of the meaning of art than either the audience's reception or the author's intent. You see, nearly a majority of divine command theorists pick out objective facts as the meaning of art, as opposed to the audience's reception or the author's intent, something starkly different than the rest of the population. Virtue theorists, on the other hand, don't think that the author is dead, preferring the author's intent to the audience's reception or objective facts. Read through the blog for even more results and additional details on our methodology. If you want to run your own analyses, you can. The raw data for this entire survey can be purchased on our Patreon page. Don't forget, we are going to be running another survey soon. If you want to be a part of it, you can add a Likert statement for just $30. That's a statement less than 150 characters where participants will say strongly agree, agree, neither agree nor disagree, disagree, or strongly disagree to that statement, or a full question up to 1,000 characters for the question, up to 10 responses, 500 characters each. See our Patreon page for more details on that. But if you want to be a part of the next survey on philosophy and philosophical viewpoints of Americans, check that out. What do you think of these results? Did they surprise you? Which of these categories do you fall into? What question would you like to see asked on future surveys? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Watch this video and more here at exphiandcarneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.